Welcome into Mike LaTulip's film room, and today we get Mike to break down one of the best wins of the year for Illinois. I would say top four, right? Missouri, Wisconsin, Oregon, and put this Michigan right in the middle of it. So take us through, Mike. What stood out to you in a 20-point win at the Chrysler Center?
A lot stood out. So I apologize for not having a specific theme in this one, but there's just too much good in this game to not go through and just talk about whether it's the offensive rebounding or some of the stuff defensively, some of the stuff offensively that they did. So we're going to dive into a lot here. I first want to start early. We talked about this on the podcast. Shots didn't fall early, but the pursuit on the glass, the toughness defensively, that's what kept you in this game and really kept the lead for you. Then when you start making shots in the second half and still did those other things, that's how a game gets blown open. So I want to show this because I think it's really important. And it's been I think something that to start in the NBA especially they've done it more. I mean, you'll see Trey White here. He swims around his guy and he's able to get the offensive rebound eventually as he cuts through. I mean, he just kind of threw Namari Burnett out of the way on multiple occasions. So swimming through, and knocked it out of Burnett's hands as well. That's great. And I had the clips a little bit out of order because this was the first one that I wanted to show. And this is what I'm referring to. Like in the NBA now, Drew Holiday's really good at it. What they've done, and watch Trey White here up in the corner. This is really, really important. Instead of just crashing on the baseline and, a long rebound putting you behind the play for transition defense, being able to crash at somewhat of an angle towards the elbow allows you to have kind of dual purpose there. So ball comes off the rim, and if Michigan gets it, you've already angled back to get back in transition defense, but you've also kept yourself in the play to go and pursue. So he swims there, is able to get the offensive rebound. That's probably a foul. But this is what they were doing. Even when shots weren't going in, they were doing all these things to, what I thought kind of keep them in the game and settle them in on the road. Because typically you miss shots on the road, you start maybe getting in your own head a little bit. The crowd gets into it. But the offensive rebounds to start the game were really important. And then watch Kylin Boswell here. Obviously, he's supposed to stay on Wolf. That's what the staff wanted. They did not want him off Wolf, but there's certain occasions where you're going to have to emergency switch. So when KJ goes to beat Trey Donaldson through the screen and Trey Donaldson crosses over and rejects and attacks that top foot, this is great from Kylin, not just saying, I got Wolf, not my responsibility. He says, hey, we don't want to give up anything towards the basket. Great stunt from Ben, ball side corner. They switch out. Great, got to stay down. And this is like, these were two miscues from KJ, but at the same time, you get a guy like Kylin whose impact we've seen covers for him twice, not just once, but twice on the reject. And then on a bad closeout, sliding over. And we always talked about when you slide over off the ball side, strong side, there better be some sort of collision. And that's what Kylin created there. And then here, this is interesting because, again, Michigan continued to play it this way. And you can look at the shooting for Illinois and say, hey, they're not a great shooting team. They're still guarded like they are. So it's just that's what continues to be amazing to me. And because Humrickhouse is still a 35% three-point shooter, I know he's had his struggles, but you still have to honor a guy that shoots it at that clip. And what that does for the space, having a completely vacated lane. And, man, they go to this away action, kind of split away action. And, again, you can set a screen for Will here. Will can straight cut. Will can curl cut. They can invert this instead of flare. They can invert it instead of flare, and Will can slip to the rim. Like, there's a lot that you can do to play off it. When you have Tommy up top, he can make those reads. And so he goes to set the screen. Reuben Jones is anticipating Riley to come off, so maybe they can switch that. And Kylin just gets behind. And how good of a job is Tommy doing throwing it up towards the top of the rim there? We saw that Michigan State. They did it at Michigan State. That's where Will, I thought, really got going. But
Mike, and you had I was thinking of you and all the cutting that was happening in that game.
It's just I don't know what would be the visual version of music to my ears. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's that. But again, here you go. You got Iverson cut over the top for Dre Gibbs Lawhorn. And this is just kind of the paranoia that's created. Jake Davis, the value of having him on the floor. I know there are people that questioned his minutes earlier in the year, but watch what Kaysen does guarding Davis. Like, even when this ball gets swung, he doesn't go over and get over onto the help side. So it vacates that lane. And then you get the split action and away action up top that I just showed. The other action that's really good is when, they used to call it Buffalo action when I played, where, you had, once the ball got up top, that triggered the wingman to cut through and create space. And typically what a lot of teams would do is have this guy who's low be what would be called like head in the hole. So anytime this guy cut through, they would just switch this. So they tried it a few times, but they got beat on it one time because when Will cut and they switched it, Will has the top side of Reuben Jones. So the Vicious just throw it directly to him. In this case, they don't switch it, and now Will has the bottom side. So if Kaysen doesn't get over, and Davis is a floor spacer, but even here, this is why the middle of the floor is so important. I mean, again, like you see, like there's so much that you can do out of this.
Mm-hmm.
The middle of the floor is so important because Kaysen thinks that if Davis goes in for a flare screen, he's one pass away. So it would be dumb for him to be down in the weak side or on the help line to help this. So they get the ball in the paint. Kaysen comes over, but it's too late. So there's just so many ways that this is why when you talk about like Merez coming back, there's just a lot of value offensively with this 5-out lineup.
I was going to say, this is why Brad Underwood loves 5-out, right?
Yes.
Like all of those options you're talking about.
This is why Brad Underwood loves Tomislav Vicic. So they go again. And again, you heard me talk about it on the podcast, but I'm curious if Purdue, when you do these types of actions, what Purdue is going to do, right? They'll probably just keep Trey Kaufman-Renn and drop, but they don't want KJ getting like a head full of steam down at him. So we'll see what they end up doing. So they shallow out Davis. And Michigan did a really bad job guarding these different ball screen actions and tagging and rolling. So when they shallow out here, it's Wolf has to say, well, man, I got Jake Davis, who's a shooter. So very easily, if Tomislav's going to roll, they can hit Jake on the throwback. So I got to go out to Davis. Jones wants to return to KJ. Vlad Golden's too high, and Amari Burnett isn't on the help line. Because on a throwback to Davis, he's the stunt guy. So it's like, what do you do? And because it's vacated, you get a dunk. So this is why they went to zone. This is why they went to zone. Another high ball screen, throwback, nitpicking here. Hand up, nitpicking. This is a made three from Tomislav, but just like as you continue to rep this, Dre, stay deep corner. Stay deep corner over here. Because if they want to drop Vlad, you're throwing back and there is no one there for Tomislav. If you start circling up like he's doing here, that's an easier sprint. Like if that's anybody that's like a wing, maybe they affect that shot a little bit more on Tommy. I mean, it goes in anyways, but just stay deep in the corner and allow that guy to have to make a true decision whether or not to stay on you or leave Tommy open. So now they go zone. And this is fantastic. I talked about the defense and the toughness and all that. They were just really patient and did a lot of really great work. That's why I like Jake Davis. This is really smart. Really smart. Most times when a team goes zone and there's a throw to the middle, teams look opposite. So and when I say opposite, ball goes into Tommy, opposite kick to Kylin. And then because Trey Donaldson's kind of shading on the ball, the help goes to Cheddar. So Cheddar would be the one to have to rotate. But if Jake Davis is in the corner, he can kind of rotate. And if this ball goes to Kylin, play this out. Ball goes to Kylin, Cheddar rotates, or at least stunts and gives Donaldson, I'll play it. When this goes out, Donaldson would be the one to rotate over to Boswell, and then Cheddar would kick out to Davis in the corner. But you can't do it because Jake cut to the basket. So that's how it opens up. And I'll 1 second, skip ahead here to the right clip. So I'll play it full speed, but watch Jake. Jake realizes it like, hey, when I got 2-on-1 on the backside, I'm going to cut. This is 2-on-1. Go. Golden has to commit to Ivicic in the middle, and Davis gets the cut for 2. I mean, that's just really, really heady play. Now you're getting out in transition a bit. This is the play I referred to on the podcast. Yes, you need to have. I think speed is really important on the offensive glass. But another thing I think is really important is when you have guys with a high IQ that go to the glass, that have done it on the regular, they know the angles. So when this shot goes up, Danny Wolf is looking at Jake Davis and saying, all right, I got to go box out. Danny Wolf can't see the trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Davis can. And Jake Davis, right at this point, realizes it. Look at the angle he's taking. Mm-hmm. He knows it's going to be short and come off by the G and big. So that's exactly where he goes. So it's, you could say, well, the ball is just kind of bouncing in their lap and, the ball bounced your way, but you need to have certain guys that are able to say, hey, I know where this is going off the rim. This is long, this is left, this is short, and go pursue it accordingly.
I'm just thinking of the Dennis Rodman Last Dance clip now. Goes there, go there. It goes there,
go there. Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. So I talked about this. I tweeted this pregame, and I was like, I'm really curious with the stabs. How good were they going to be when Vlad Golden slips out of the screen? Because if you stab and Golden slips, he's inevitably getting behind you, so your weak side help is important. Who is it again? It's Jake Davis. So Jake realizes it. All right, if he's going to set the screen and slip out quickly, and Tommy's going to stab, which this is new, you can't have these guys hugged on the backside and give Vlad Golden a dunk. So this is great rotation from, I don't really know where the foul is, to be honest. I thought it was on Jake Davis, and I get pissed when Jake Davis gets called for a foul because out of anybody that I watch, he's the one that doesn't get rewarded for playing hard. Mm-hmm. Every time he plays hard, it's a foul. It's just, and I know he's frustrated by it too. He had an over the back earlier in the first half, but that's how it should look. If you're going to stab and Trey Kaufman-Renn is going to slip out and they're going to play that little 2-man game short roll, somebody's got to be there to meet him like Jake was on that possession. And then I tweeted this one too, but I just want to show it. Okay. Again, what we talk about, they do not want anybody. They do not want Boswell off of Danny Wolf. Mm-hmm. They don't want him off of Danny Wolf. So when I tweeted this during the game, the reason why it's important to stick to your matchups and not go a little bit rogue is because your teammate is sticking to the original game plan. So even if you communicate it, Trey's natural instinct here is to stay with Burnett because that's the scout. Trey doesn't have Wolf. You're supposed to stab and get back, or at least show and get back to Wolf. I get Kylin maybe is saying 4 seconds. It's Burnett as a shooter. Yeah. Maybe I can get out, but 4 seconds is too much time. I mean, if and I know that because if he can throw it back, Wolf can take a few dribbles and shoot a reverse layup. You got to stick to your matchups. Because the other thing that I'm looking at too is even if it wasn't enough time, and Burnett says, oh, man, I got to hoist up a shot, there's no one there to block out Danny Wolf. And maybe it's a putback. So none of this happens if you just stick to the game plan, which is get back to Wolf. Because I had somebody talk to me on Twitter that was like, well, Humrickhouse, if he was between the ball, his man in the basket, he could have rotated over. That's not Humrickhouse's job. This all starts from the busted switch. Because I focus on Ben now. Okay, so Ben, if Ben doesn't do what Ben does here, and Ben on Golden, it's 3/4 windshield wiper on Golden, or it's a full front, one of the two. If they want to throw over the top, fine. So when he comes off here, the pass that you don't want, because they know that Boswell's sticking with Wolf, the pass that you don't want is just right off the screen and just a gutting pass straight into Golden, where he's got Ben a little bit buried. So what does Ben do? He fights over the top, but he's fighting over the top under the impression that Boswell is going to be with Wolf.
Right.
So he's not thinking, man, I should be between my man in the basket to rotate over. That's not his job. So this all starts from the layup there, half, and I don't know, you see Underwood.
pretty pissed.
He looks, and Boswell's like looking at him too. And I don't know if Boswell said, hey, it was late clock. Just, I don't mind errors like that. And I said, you just limit those miscues, you're good. But errors like that, it's at least off of aggression.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I'd rather that than
just like, hey, we both didn't commit to Namari Burnett and he hit a 3.
Right.
Because we didn't communicate or talk. So, yeah, I thought that was really big. And this is, I think more of what Purdue is going to try to do. Will still finishes here. And you see, I mean, this is like almost a full denial from Donaldson. But he goes out to deny. Will's gotten so much better as a cutter. Like, you deny, I'm going, man. Because even if I go, maybe it pulls in Danny Wolf. We can skip to Trey White. But Danny stays there. Like, this is, I think this is what you're going to see with Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see more of this. They're going to force you to either throw it over the top with Ivicic to White, or they're going to force you to they're going to X out. So the guy, meaning when I say X out, Wolf is going to stay here, and Donaldson, if he gets back cut, is going to make his way all the way back over to Trey White. And when he does that, then they'll rotate out of it, or it's Burnett that goes over to Trey White, and then Donaldson goes over to the Yakashonis. I think there's potential for Purdue to do that and dare Illinois to say, throw it weak side, throw it over the top. But it's Will Riley, so he still finishes over the 7-footer in traffic.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Here we go again. Now they shallow out like they do with Humrickhouse. They do with Boswell this time. Kind of a roll replace there. And this is really good from Kylin Boswell, man. He knows it. He sees it right now. This shot is going up. Roddy Gale is not ready for it. What do? Hit him in his legs. And he's not ready. Like, Gale, because he's not in a position to box out, he's completely neutralized here. And that just sets up Boswell to get inside position and get an offensive rebound, kick out. That's where you want your threes coming, from inside the paint, off an offensive rebound, off a paint touch. Really, really good.
He's so strong. Boswell.
And this is, he is. He is. And a great two-man game. I mean, the two-man game's evolved with Will and Tommy throughout the season. They come off the screen and roll here. Great. What do I always say, Jeremy? Your guy turns his back on you, freaking cut.
Yep.
Go to the basket. You may not get it, but, like, again, even if this pass doesn't go to Will because Kaysen sniffs it out and rotates over, it's a skip to Trey White, or Cheddar goes and takes him, and it's a kick out to Boswell at the top of the key. Cutting is just a beautiful thing. The best team in the NBA right now at cutting is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Go look at the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA standings.
They're 50-10 or something like that?
Yeah, they're the number one team in the NBA. So now you're starting to build this lead. They go back to the zone. Trey White again. Find the angles. They want to go zone and raise their wings. That's going to be really tough on them to box out the corner. So he makes a mad dash. I talk about taking angle to the free throw line. You don't need to do that when you got your guy beat. You can get in front of him. This is just, I mean, Trey White, 19 points, 11 rebounds. And all he needs to do is that stuff.
Yep.
That's it. I don't need to run a single play for him.
It's like a lesser version of Terrence Shannon. Brad always talked about that. Don't have to run anything for him. It just gets his points.
Yep. Transition. Great bump back. And then, this is why when you go 5 out, or you play, or even against zone, becomes really difficult, because now when the shot goes up from Will, look who's got to box out Ben Humrickhouse, Namari Burnett. It's advantage Illinois. And he just bodies him. Really, really good rebound, man. Big possession. Great. Tic-tac-toe.
You got KJ going here too, which is
huge going into this game against Purdue.
Yeah.
Now they run again. And I wanted to show this clip. I knew there was a reason I was showing this clip. Okay, so this is off of the make from KJ. And just watch Kylin Boswell here. Watch Kylin Boswell. Okay, stay in the gap, stay on Wolf. Watch him take off. And watch what him taking off and running the floor does. Ready? Go. Wait for it. All right, now he's off. So he runs to the rim, and just watch what this does. Burnett goes down.
Yep.
Because he pulls him down from running the floor. Gale has no idea what to do because he also sees Boswell underneath. And then when this ball gets swung to KJ, because Boswell ran, Burnett took him. And because Burnett took him, it freed up the weak side to where Gale can't fully commit to KJ because he feels like he has to play too. And so watch what Gale does here. He closes out to try to dissuade the one more. And by doing that, he leaves KJ to reload and knock down the three. You can look at that and be like, man, great pass, Ben. Great shot, KJ. That's Kylin Boswell.
Yeah.
Running the floor. Little stuff. So that I wanted to end on that clip just because that was, they obviously hit a lot of threes. But we talked about it. Just the toughness, the tenacity, the offensive glass, the sophistication offensively that they're continuing to play with. And we'll see. We'll see what Purdue throws at them. I think it's going to be something a little bit different, and you just got to find ways to combat it during the game.
And you can just see the confidence and swagger start to grow in that game. And that, I feel like that's as much as anything, this team has been missing a lot of that for a while. And injuries and illness had something to do with it. But I think KJ epitomized that. Like, just as that game went along, you could see that guy just got better and better just because he looked more confident.
They're dangerous when that confidence builds, man, and it's building at the right time.
Mike LaTulip, thanks for making us basketball smarter as always, man.
Appreciate you, man.